Hi honey bunches, welcome back. Or if you're new, my name's Phoebe. I do groovy food stuff. I kind of hate sit down videos. They feel very unnatural and like I'm conforming to a YouTube trope. Yuck! But I have some exciting news in that I've made what will hopefully be a very helpful ebook about navigating gut health stuff as a vegan, with helpful recipes whether you're low FODMAP, you're navigating SIBO, which we'll get into, or you just have a sensitive digestive system after gut health troubles a few years or many years ago, and having a few more gentle recipes in your repertoire would be a fab thing. Or you know someone, because my oh my, have I written the book that I wish I was given. Would have saved me a lot of grief. Anyway, as much as I hate talking about gut health number one, because anyone who is experiencing gut health problems, I'm going to take a bet in thinking the thing that unifies us is that we all wish we weren't experiencing them. You just wish they weren't a thing. But I looked up a statistic and around 1 in 5 Australians experience symptoms of IBS at some time, and 10 to 15% of people have IBS in Australia. That was the same for the US, and I imagine similar for many other countries. It's really gross talking about your experience on health-related things on the internet, because I feel like it can trivialize it or cheapen your experience. Also, you're opening yourself up to potentially lots of very judgmental people and opinionated people, especially in the vegan community, but we're sort of on the side here, so hopefully we won't attract any meanies. I also just find it really boring. I'd rather be doing other fun stuff, because yeah, you just wish it wasn't a thing. I find it much easier to talk about in written form, hence why I did that. But first, to be a bit less vague about what I went through, because I think so far I can't exactly remember what I've said, but I know I've been quite vague about it, because when you're going through something, it's really hard to articulate what you're going through without some hindsight or a bird's eye perspective. It's very overwhelming, gut issues, so I think I can be forgiven for that. But since I am practically symptom free, I haven't retested, but I feel I am on the other side of it. I can eat anything. It's the main thing for me. So what I was experiencing last year was about halfway through September, when I was wrapping up writing all the recipes for a cookbook that I intend to get published, aka Peak Food Appreciation World. Totally in that headspace, which is very me. Yes, it was the pandemic and we were in a very long lockdown, but I was working towards a goal that I had for so long. I started getting acutely a lot of awful symptoms, like increasingly getting more bloated throughout the day and having so much pain in response to pretty much anything I ate, headaches, so much acid reflux, so much pain, fatigue, brain fog, feeling like you have the flu. Luckily I already had a sort of functional GP who knew and picked up that because I was sore in a certain spot on my abdomen, it seemed like I had SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is behind a lot of the why I'm no longer vegan videos, which is alarming to find out you have that. The way I got it is weird as well, because yeah, I had it acutely, whereas a lot of people aren't eating so many gut promoting foods like I do on a regular basis, and it creeps up on them over years. But there's a whole my medical history that probably contributed to why it presented in this way. Anyway, it's a whole 3-week plus situation to get tested, because the gold standard is a hydrogen methane breath test, all the while you're doing it, which involves fasting, which is just an awful experience. You're still experiencing all these symptoms. When I finally got the result, turns out I did have it quite badly, and then the really downhill shitty experience begins, which is treating it. And the SIBO protocol involves cycling through 2 weeks at a time for however long it takes. For me, it probably took 2-3+ months of cycling different herbal supplements. This one antibiotic, which is very specific, called rifaximin, which is notorious for making you feel like death. And then you pair that with a diet, which can go many different ways, but one I was told to go on is called a biphasic SIBO diet, which is essentially an even more restrictive version of the low FODMAP diet, if that wasn't restrictive enough. Also, I'm vegan and gluten-free. You can see where this is headed. But the most awful thing I found was the psychological doom and gloom. No, just the psychological state it puts you in. It's no secret, I think we all know now, don't we, that the gut brain are very connected, and going through this protocol, which FYI, you don't know when it's going to end. It's not like a 2-week or a 6-week thing. It's more like, okay, we'll just start this and sort of do it for however long it takes for your symptoms to resolve. Okay, no end in sight. It's very hard to feel positive. It totally stripped away my joy and love and appetite for food and cooking, which is kind of my identity, and sort of like I was at the end of this project that was accumulation or celebration of all those things. Massively put that project of a hopefully one day published cookbook on hold. Also sort of discounted a lot of the work I'd put in because it's very much shifted my perspective on food and given me a new perspective for the multitudes of people who are going through gut health issues, which is a lot of us, because you get worse before you get better and you for a lot of the time don't have a lot of energy. It can be really hard to describe this like cauldron of symptoms you're experiencing like accurately to a health professional, so you can feel a lot of guilt or like berate yourself for not like explaining everything you're experiencing to the best of your ability to a health professional to make sure you're like getting the best care, let alone like just trying to explain what you're going through to friends and family so they can support you when you're so in the middle of this thing and you're unable to see an end in sight or have any sort of bird's eye view hindsight. So it can be very lonely and very isolating, and even if you're like me and had like a resolute body image and approach to eating and cooking, the very restrictive diet you're told to go on, but I think this goes for like the low FODMAP diet as well. It's like, yes, there is science behind it and an explanation behind it, and it's well-meaning and there's a reason why you would eat that way. It still is sort of impressing the sort of eating disorder ideology onto you, and that there's suddenly like good foods and bad foods. Yes, I'm like oversimplifying, but that messes with your head, and as I'm discovering, can take a while to shed when you're on the other side of it. And even if health professionals are helping you to get over this physical health issue, your mental health can be spiraling. And I sort of found that, yeah, my emotional well-being was not like catered for or really considered much, and there's been a whole hangover because of that, which I'm now seeking professional help for. So I've written an ebook, a cookbook, a book, not looking obviously to give any unsolicited advice. So coming out the other side of this experience and a lot of frustrations and anger and things stirred up in me throughout it, about how it didn't have to be as traumatic as it was, and there seemed to be many things that health professionals could do or could tell you to provide more support navigating treating SIBO or any other gut issues. What I do is talk about my experience in more detail than I have in this video, and I use the skills I do have, which is being able to put food together in a delicious way and help in that department. So there are 30 vegan and gluten-free recipes that are appropriate for the biphasic SIBO diet, as well as a vegan, gluten-free, low FODMAP way of eating, or if that all means like gibberish to you, they're just very gentle whole food recipes if you have a sensitive digestive system and maybe, yeah, you want a few more recipes that you can turn to that aren't going to aggravate your system. I've been using this phrase big sisterly ebook, I don't know, because it's from a perspective of someone who's been there, totally gets how life affecting and shattering and mental health challenging it can be. There's ample sarcasm in the way I write about this, lashings of cynicism, heaps of humour, hopefully putting a spin on this area that I did not come across at all when I was researching, going down many internet holes on how to best navigate this. I really couldn't find anything which remotely didn't freak me out, even if it was trying to help. I'm really happy with the design of this cookbook as well, because while I maybe found like 2 applicable recipes, they were recipes with like 4 ingredients, none of them particularly amazingly delicious, and the accompanying photo was a gross square, out of focus, highly saturated, had that oily sheen look about it, aka very depressing for a foodie. So while this example doesn't exactly do justice to the whole design that I tried to achieve, on a simple level, a well photographed meal with some good colour grading, I know that can go a long way. The recipes are super simple, you cannot stuff them up, they're written in a paragraph, sort of like how Jamie Oliver has those easier recipes at the back of his magazine. There's enough guidance if you're someone who likes quantities and everything in recipes, but if, like me, you found any sort of numbers and guidelines very triggering and stressful, when you're told to eat a certain way, equally it doesn't bombard you with that, lets you cook by feel a bit more. My mum just finished proofreading this ebook for me, and her comments were, it's very detailed but equally concise and has a lot of empathy and compassion in the writing, so thanks, Mum. I hope this helps some of you, but equally it needs to be said. For the people at the back, if you don't need to omit something from your diet, do not. So if you are looking for the most delicious vegan and gluten-free recipes, go to my cookbooks or my website. This is a slightly different thing. I hope you like the look and feel of it. I think while the recipes are calming on your gut, Gentle Foods is calming on your eyeballs. Yay! I think for something like this it helps to have it straight away, so I'm just making this available as an ebook, not in hard copy. It's on my Etsy, all deets below. If you know someone who suddenly learnt the word SIBO and is having a little freak out, maybe gifting them this could be a good idea. It's definitely the resource that I wish I had, oh those many months ago. Thank you for watching, Honey Bunches, and thank you to my patrons for supporting me. Lots of love and a big hug.